When you're designing solutions for Azure Active Directory, it helps to know different capabilities that we have as far as self-services are concerned. This will help us minimize the burden on the staff, and we are also empowering our users to safely and securely perform a range of tasks. We're talking about three main self-service capabilities of Azure AD: the self-service group management, the self-service application access, and self-service password reset. Let's go through them one by one. So when you click on groups and then click on general here, you will see four options here, and these are important to understand for self-service group management. First one is if the owners can manage group membership requests in the access panel. Now, what is an access panel? When users try to access applications, they navigate to myapps.microsoft.com to access the applications that have been assigned to them. So you can toggle between yes and no to give them options to manage their own group, so they can then add themselves to a group or remove themselves from the group. Well, this time it is grayed out for me. It just clearly tells me that I'm not using the right subscription. I just hover the mouse over this information icon. It tells me that this feature requires Azure Active Directory Premium, at least P1, P2 better, but P1 will still work. Now the next option is restrict access to groups in the access panel. Now if you have this on, that means the users will not be able to see the group in their access panel. But this will not affect the administrators. Administrators will still be able to manage the groups from their access panels. What do we have next here? Users can create groups in the Azure portal. Well, this tells me that users can not only add or remove themselves from the group, but also create their own security groups. And finally, owners who can assign members as group owners in the Azure portal. Now, who will be allowed to assign members is something that you can decide here. By default, it's set to all, but you can have a set of people or set of employees managing it, or just say none. In that case, nobody will be able to assign members as group owners. Now, these four options will take care of the self-service group management. The last one here is the Office 365 groups. This is for self-service of any Office 365 groups. Remember, when you're creating a group, you got two options, one for security group and the second one was for Office 365. Now that's what we got here, self-service management for security groups and Office 365 groups. It's also important to understand the naming policy. Let's go through this. So when your staff creates a group, do you want them to adhere to a specific naming convention? Should there be a prefix? Should there be a suffix? Is something that you can control from here. Also, you may want to block certain words, certain restricted words that you have already used in the organization. You can upload your own CSV or even download the CSV of blocked words. Now, this is about self-service management of your Azure AD groups. Self-service provides the staff the ability to manage their own groups through My Apps portal. Let's look at the second self-service option, which is the application access. I'll go to the enterprise applications here and then click on user settings. One of the options of our interest is the second one, which is users can add gallery apps to their access panel. This tells us whether or not the users can have and access the applications in our directory. So you can toggle between yes and no here. If you say yes, that means that users can then search for the applications in our directory and then start accessing them. By default, this option is set to no. Another option that you will notice under the enterprise application section is whether you want a user to access a particular application or not. For example, you want to control this application very granularly. So you want to disable self-service for this particular app. Now the option is right here. Allow users to request access to this application. By default, this is set to no, but if you say yes, you can then select a particular group that can request access to this application. So although at the top level right here, you are controlling whether the users can add gallery apps to their access panel or not, by saying yes, you are letting this permission inherit to all the applications. But then you can go back to a particular application and then control it at a very granular level and say that I want to override that particular setting. So by having this setting to off, Allow users to request access to this application. If I set it to yes, users will be able to access the application. If I set no, then users cannot request access to this application. This is the second self-service option, which is self-service of enterprise applications. The last self-service option is the password reset. So if I scroll down to the bottom and then look at the password reset option, you will be able to enable self-service password reset for your staff. And that means that you are allowing your users to manage your password from your phone or from any device that's been assigned to them. They can also do it from any location, and just make sure that they are compliant to the security policies. So they can reset their passwords. They do not have to remember their old password, but they can still do the self-service password. This works great if you have multi-factor authentication enabled as well. That way you'll be having another layer of defense. In this lesson, we learned about three main self-service capabilities of Azure Active Directory: the self-service group management and self-service application access, and finally, self-service password reset.